Hello, everybody. Welcome to the IC Topic Chats. Today is Thursday, July 13th, 2023. We are talking about insurance. It's a core topic. Core topics for us, or a core session, I guess is what I was calling it when I originally developed these slides. Core topics are those topics that we repeat every year. They're topics that get covered when um, we do our workshops at the conferences or workshops online with people who are interested in independent consultants. And it's one of those things that we definitely talk about because we hear about it a lot. So if people are asking us about a certain thing or we see it on the AEA independent consulting e-group, that listserv that we have internal, we know that's something that people are talking about a lot. This actually is probably the most talked about topic on the e-group through that listserv. I'll show you, I think, in the next slide. Let's see here. Yeah. When I looked at this, this is over a year old now, there were 135 search results on insurance within our e-group. And I looked at it today, and there's at least 5 or 6 from earlier this year. And they're all different requests. Usually people are asking about, what do I need to know about professional liability insurance or general liability insurance? And those are the things we're going to talk about today. We're certainly going to get into a lot of other kinds of insurance that people aren't necessarily thinking about. And there's going to be a lot of things that I'm going to say, this is something you should think about that I don't have experience with. I think I put in my question or my statement out to the group to come to this session today that the answer is yes, you need general liability insurance, and all other insurances, well, it kind of depends. Which depends on your situation, your client's needs, particularly with regards to a contract requirement, and your level of risk tolerance. So that's the answer. And if that maybe that's all you need to hear today, but I can tell you, I'll tell you a little bit more. All right. So types of insurance we're talking about today, general liability, professional liability. I actually am going into a little bit of property and major medical and health, and also about workers' compensation. This should be actually kind of a short video chat session, recorded session, because there's a lot that I can just share fairly quickly, and then we'll talk a little bit more about it. So general liability, the best way people always explain this to me is, when would you need this? This is for when something kind of out of the ordinary happens in the regular course of business. So if I'm at AEA and I'm presenting a pre-conference workshop, as I do, and Jason was one of our participants once. If Jason got up and he tripped over the cord to the projector and breaks his arm, I could be found at fault for that. It's not something that I did specifically in the course of program evaluation, but it's something I was doing just as a course of being a business professional, as a a professional within my consulting firm. I was presenting a topic. I should have hypothetically known to put tape down over that power cord and to try and limit his ability to have an accident. Hypothetically, the AV people, the hotel would also be at fault for that, but I could hypothetically be insured, could be sued for his injuries, and I would ask my general liability to do it. So there's any number of things that could happen, just random things that happen in the course of business. And so that's what the general liability does. When I first started my business, I didn't even really know about it, but I happened to be working in a building owned by an insurance broker, and that was their first thought. They didn't even, like, the guy who was renting me the space, he said, "You need liability insurance, talk to Holly." And so I talked to Holly, and I've been with them ever since. And this has been a consistent thing that that I hear from others, that most people who are serious about their businesses, once they kind of get a business up and running, they've got a structure in place, they intend to be around for a while, they get their general liability insurance. Professional liability. This is probably the most often discussed type of insurance on the listserv. So the big question is, do I need it? How much do I need? Where do I get it? This is the type of insurance that covers you for the type of work products you put out. So expensive professional liability are those people who are like architects and engineers who design buildings that could hypothetically fall and kill people. So they spend a lot more insurance than we do. We produce products in the way of reports or dashboards or information, or we create evaluation decisions that we hope people are reading and paying attention to and making changes in their behavior. There is an outside chance that we tell somebody to do something, they actually do it, and some sort of harm happens as a result. And so if that happens, we could be sued and we're liable for those injuries. To this day, and I will ask the question for our chat, has anybody been sued? And to this point, nobody's actually shared with me that they have in fact been sued through their professional liability, which is why it's relatively inexpensive, I think. If you ask around, you can find it. And people will share, I'm sure, during the chat how much they're paying for their insurance. Let's see, I'm talking without reading my points here. What else do I have there? My suggestion is, and this is maybe a little bit controversial, if you're just getting started and nobody's asked you for your professional liability insurance certificate, I'm not sure you should get one right away, because I don't think that you're really at that great a risk. If you feel like you have some risk, your risk tolerance is low, then you should probably go ahead and get it. I got it when somebody asked me for it, and that was because I got a larger contract. I was at a university and I hit a threshold of contracts greater than $25,000 in total, and I had to find an insurance company. I'm an educational researcher, so I went with the American Educational Research Association, AERA, and they have a deal with Forrest T. Jones out of Kansas City. And so based upon a couple of variables, they told me what they quoted me. I think I was paying somewhere in the neighborhood of, at that time when I was a one-person operation, about $260 a year for a $1 million, $3 million, $1 million per occurrence, $3 million in aggregate insurance policy, which was what was required from that institution. I think costs are going to be variable based upon who you talk to. It's really important, super important that you talk about the low risk we have within our field of getting sued, which should hypothetically drive your rates down. I don't think it should cost more than $1,000. If you're paying more than $1,000 in professional liability insurance, ask around, or definitely just go to the listserv and look at what people have written, because there's over 130 posts out there, at least from over a year ago. So there's probably 150 or more posts out there about what people have done. So take a look at that. I put AEA in here as a question mark as a professional association. 2 years ago, I got word that AEA was thinking about providing insurance, professional liability insurance for members as an option. To my knowledge, that has not happened. So I don't know. I wouldn't hold your breath on that. See, sometimes you'll hear the words E&O. That stands for errors and omissions. I think in New York State, because everything has to be more complicated in New York State, right, Bob? E&O is a different type of insurance than professional liability. My experiences, again, I am not an insurance agent, so I should put that out there. There's a lot to know about insurance. E&O is oftentimes synonymous with professional liability. So errors and omissions, meaning you made an error in your calculations, or you omitted something from your calculations or your product, which led to an injury. Oftentimes your clients may ask to be listed as, and I put it in quote marks, additional insured. That means they want their name listed on the accord statement. The accord statement is the insurance statement.
Well, I threw the manual away.
Yeah, anyhow, The additional insured is something, and what that means is you'd have the institution listed and perhaps their address, as if something happens in the course of your work there, they will also be somebody who can, hypothetically, that means they can get their money faster if there's a problem. Again, it's a pain in the butt. Get to know your insurance agents. My business partner has been spending a lot of time with insurance agents, and they think she's funny. And so I think maybe that's a bad sign that we're on such good terms with our insurance agents. Maybe it's a good thing. I don't know. I know it's an expensive thing anyway. Property. So I don't have any property insurance for my business. That's just my risk tolerance. I buy computers, which hypothetically are covered by my credit cards for a while. And I feel like we run through them and they hold it pretty well. And if they break down, then I'll go buy a new one. I'd rather do that than spend a lot of money in insurance. They often are called marine policy, or sometimes you'll get renter's insurance. You may need renter's insurance if you're working in a property that you're renting or you have a lease for. They may require it so that if something happens in your space, the landlord's not responsible for it. Like I said, you may not need insurance for a lot of your stuff. My things like desks and monitors and all the other types of electronics like printers, I just purchase them. Except for printers, I often buy them secondhand. I buy all my monitors secondhand from like Goodwill and garage sales, or through eBay, Facebook Marketplace. I have wonderful equipment, and I spend literally 10% of what most people are paying for this stuff brand new, and it works exactly like brand new. So my suggestion is that's just general about purchasing equipment for your business. You don't have to buy brand new stuff. Maybe someday I'm going to be a bigwig and I'll need to buy all brand new things and it'll make sense, but I still haven't made any sense of buying brand new monitors for people unless they're out of state and I can't get it to them easily. All right, let's see what else we got here. Oh, major medical and health. Anybody from Canada here? Raise your hand. Anyone? No. Anyway, I always wish I lived in Canada because, man, this would make life a lot easier. We within the firms who have multiple folks, we did a survey last year, this last January, and it turns out all of my peers who have multiple employees have major medical insurance. So I need to start looking into this. My plan has been to use a QSARA, Qualified Small Employer Health Reimbursement Account. And it, frankly, my staff seem pretty happy with it. I think I'm probably going to have to head down the path of getting a major medical plan, because that seems to be where we're losing out on staff and hiring around these sorts of things. But most of our folks are on a spouse's insurance, and that seems to have worked, and they seem happy with the QSARA because they get additional funds. The family's already being covered on somebody else's plan, and they have this extra pool of money that they can use that works out pretty good. I do need to point out, if you're going to offer yourself a health insurance plan and really any kind of benefits as an owner, and you have staff, you do need to provide the same insurance to all. It's like it's a law. So you can't have one health plan for you and another health plan for your staff. That doesn't work like that. At least that's my understanding. If anybody has more information on it, bring it up during the chat or put it in the chat, in the literal chat right now. Workers' compensation. I bring this one up because for a very long time, when I was a one-person employee, I would see these contracts from institutions, and it would have all these insurance requirements about car and things like that. And it would have workers' compensation insurance. And I need you to know, you don't need workers' compensation if you're an employer of one, which is yourself, because you can't sue yourself if you get injured on the job. It doesn't work like that. So make sure when you're reading through insurance requirements within your contracts to point out that you do not need workers' compensation, because there's a pretty decent chance that if you sign that contract, they're going to ask you for your certificate, and then you're going to be stuck in a situation of either revising the contract or finding a way to demonstrate workers' compensation for a staff of one. So don't allow that to go in there. You have to pay for each of your employees. I put this together 2 years ago when I had 5 full-time employees. I was paying about $240 a year with AP Intego, which goes through QuickBooks. We're up to this month 11 full-time staff. And so it's somehow, if you have QuickBooks and you go in through this, it's kind of amazing, a little bit scary and can be expensive, but because it automatically updates. When you add a new person in QuickBooks, it automatically updates into the AP Intego fund, which is through Hartford Insurance, how much you're paying in your workers' compensation insurance. Again, it's important. Every once in a while, your insurance will do an audit on you. Make sure they know how low risk you are. And I can also tell you, with workers' compensation, my staff are not hired to carry heavy things. We have an office on the 2nd floor, literally 21 steps up, no elevator, to the 2nd floor. It's a wonderful location. We're right in the middle of downtown Edwardsville, right next to all the coffee shops and all the cool places and the great restaurants. But when we have deliveries, and we have a lot of deliveries around STEM camp season, I have to be very careful about whether they're carrying things up and down, because, well, I really don't want anybody hurt, number one. 2, nobody's hired to do that. And I'm not even sure if the workers' compensation would cover it, because there's just like such a worry about injuries, people walking up, carrying 50-pound boxes up and down 21 stairs. So I'm kind of notorious with my staff of not letting anybody do it but myself, because I can't have anybody injured, or I tell them they need to hire somebody to carry all those boxes up and down the stairs. So I buy gift cards for our UPS delivery guys so that they don't feel as bad about having to carry all that stuff down the stairs. But anyway, they seem somewhat appreciative. It's still kind of a pain in the butt. Anyway, that's the way it is. Other insurance coverages I want you to think about. We have a very expensive cyber liability insurance with our company. We were required by one of our clients once upon a time to get it. We've retained that because it's actually a selling point when I'm talking to people about, particularly in educational research, and I'm talking to districts about accessing personally identifiable information. Where we are, we use the gold standard with FERPA data protections anyway, but we have cyber liability, which reinforces our commitment to data integrity. And if something goes wrong, there's a way around that. You may need auto insurance if you're traveling to and from your clients. Larger contracts may require it if you're going to like a university campus. And this year we also I took out an entire policy for employee car rental insurance. Hey, Nikki, we'll get to you at the point where you get into the chat. Definitely want to talk to you though. The employee car rental insurance, I did that through my State Farm insurance agency, and it's a lot better than paying for it when you go to the Hertz or the Avis counter when they give you the hard sell on that stuff. So it's a lot cheaper that way. I think we do a lot of travel, and they do it based upon the amount that you spend each year in car rental, but I think it was less than 10% of your total annual car rental cost. So if you look at the amount that it costs you and you're at the counter, it's quite a bit more. I don't do travel insurance. I've thought a little bit more about that after COVID, because a lot lost out on our travel, particularly with Airbnbs and stuff like that. Actually, we were not doing it through Airbnb. I think Airbnb will refund stuff, but you may want to think about life insurance. You may want to think about extended warranties on things, particularly expensive machines. If your company is going to pay for it, and you're buying a company car, extended warranty on your car. I just bought a car last week. and for my mother-in-law, and we went through the whole extended warranty conversation. My risk tolerance is pretty high, so I do not do the extended warranties, but I did buy a Hyundai, so they got the 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty on all the major parts. I don't have directors and officers insurance. The reason you would have that is if your company gets sued, the directors and officers would be protected. You usually see that for nonprofits. I definitely had directors and officers insurance when I was on the board of a fraternity alumni association, because we were insuring the fraternity, 18 to 22-year-old men who are not supposed to drink and have parties. They drink and have parties anyway, even though we tell them not to. So we definitely had insurance for that, because something's bad is going to happen sooner or later. You may want to think about an umbrella policy. An umbrella policy is when everything else gets if you get sued for something and your insurance ends, that the coverage ends, you may want to think about umbrella, because then that'll cover something over and above that. Typically people get like $1 million umbrella policy. And I added long-term disability in here, particularly if you're a one-person operation and something happens to you. I think long-term disability might make sense. I don't have a policy on my own, so I can't talk about it with any level of understanding, but I think we could probably do that during the chat. Know your accord statements. That is the insurance document that you often you receive from your insurance agent and that you will share with your clients. That stands for most people don't know this, Association for Cooperative Operations Research and Development. It's an insurance nonprofit that shares data, but they have a quote unquote statement that they will provide. And that's where you would also list you're also insured. I will share a copy of that. I'm sharing just my PowerPoint right now, not my screen in general. So if I was at the office, I would show you what my accord statement is, but I can share that with you after I stop sharing this and we get into the chat function. Here's 5.5 suggestions for insurance to wrap up today. If you're going out for insurance and you don't really know much about it, you often should think about an insurance broker. I'm sure you can type into a Google search insurance broker in wherever you happen to be. It would be in Edwardsville for me. I say may save you money. An insurance broker will shop your policy around to a number of different insurance companies. So they will provide you with the best policy. If you go to State Farm, you're only going through whatever State Farm provides. If you go to Allstate, same type of deal. Insurance brokers shop it to a number of different insurance companies. I say may because I found that that's not always the case. Know your NAICS code, North American, not going to remember the rest of the acronym. Mine is 611710. Probably should know it because people say, what do you do for a living? And really they end up wanting to know your NAICS code. Industry, anyway, not coming to me immediately. If somebody knows it, go ahead and put it in the chat. NAICS code is important, and that is one of those codes that they use to identify the amount of risk, because I'm an educational research professional providing advice around program evaluation. I mean, we don't get sued as far as I know. Again, somebody will tell me if they have in the chat session. If you're not ready to go with a full healthcare plan, but you want to provide something for your staff, consider a QSARA plan. Just type those letters into a web search. If you want a suggestion, reach out to me and I'll give you my suggestion, which I think has been a wonderful opportunity for our folks, called PeopleKeep. Let's see. Oh yeah, when you're going for your professional liability insurance, think about your professional associations like AERA, APA, that's the American Psychological Association. I know they provide it. AEA, I put question mark there because we don't know if they're ever going to do it, but if they ever do, that would be wonderful for a lot of us. You may want to insure your expensive equipment, but don't worry about insuring inexpensive stuff like furniture or secondhand monitors. All right, so thanks for listening. Here's our sessions coming up. we're gonna have Ayanna come with and talk to us next week about peer brainstorming on RFPs. Tosca, our frequent participant via YouTube, is going to talk about the art and science of content marketing. And then I'll have a core topic on office space. And hey, my accountant who specifically supports us on QuickBooks is going to talk to us about what she does with me and why it might be important to have a QuickBooks support person. I'm actually going to bring in, a lot of you guys know Emily Johnson, my office manager, and she's going to be a part of that too. So I think I'm going to facilitate a conversation between those two. There should be a lot of giggling because there's a lot of giggling in all QuickBooks support, you know. Anyway, all right. I will let you guys go from YouTube. Everybody else stick around, and we will get into the chat function now.